जय गुरुदेव। जय
जय
गुरुदेव।
गुरुदेव दीदी जी।
जय गुरुदेव रसिका।
जय गुरुदेव।
जय गुरुदेव अनिता जी।
गुरुदेव हेमा जी।
महर्षि वेद विष्णुसागम विजयंते महर्षि वेद पंडित जयंते राम।
जय गुरुदेव। धन्यवाद मुकेश जी।
जय गुरुदेव मैम।
जय गुरुदेव। जय गुरुदेव। क्या बोले आप?
कुछ नहीं वो पूजा हो रही है ना।
अच्छा, पूजा हो रही थी। हाँ। So it is 7:30. Swagatam, welcome to all. I'm happy to be speaking to you all from the land of Veda. Veda Bhumi Bharat. Deva Bhumi Bharat. Punya Bhumi Bharat. I'm in Bhopal. It's very nice to be here and greet you all. And we will begin today's Gita Satsang with Sahana Bhavatu, and Madhavi will be conducting. Madhavi, start please.
Jai Gurudev. Welcome to all. We will start today's session with Sahana Bhavatu recital by the Vedic Pandits, followed by the Begin Mala, verses 21 and 22 of chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita. Mukesh ji.
जी जय गुरुदेव। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीरं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Mukesh ji.
जी
Begin Mala 21 and 22 verses.
21 जी। ओम वेदा विनाशिनं नित्यं येनमजमव्ययम् कथं स पुरुषः पार्थ तं घातयति हन्तिकम् वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय।
Mukesh ji, please unmute yourself. Can we have the 22nd verse once again?
जी जी। ओम वेदा विनाशिनं नित्यं येनमजमव्ययम् कथं स पुरुषः पार्थ कं घातयति हन्तिकम् वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णान्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि।
Thank you. So today we will be studying verses 23 to 28 of chapter 2. Before we start the study of verses 23 to 28, we will have a recap of our last session by Hema ji. Hema ji.
Jai Gurudev. We have studied verses 17 to 22 last week. And we are continuing on the same theme where Sri Krishna Bhagavan is explaining to Arjuna the two aspects of life. One is never changing, imperishable, absolute, and the other is transient, ever changing, perishable, relative. So these are the two aspects. We are understanding that the inner reality is indestructible, which is all pervading. This is the absolute aspect of life. And body is ever changing. And this is in the relative. But the dweller in the body is distinct. It is separate from the body and is eternal and infinite. This dweller in the body, that is our inner consciousness, in you, in me, and in everywhere, is Jiva. It is individualized cosmic existence. I repeat, Jiva is individualized cosmic existence. But as individuals, we all have some limitations, some weaknesses. We are not perfect. But with sadhana, with our meditation program, these limitations can be removed and we can let go of the weaknesses. How? With our transcendental meditation program. And with this, we grow in higher states of consciousness. Then this Jiva is Atma. And as we continue to grow in consciousness, and when individuality of Jiva and the universality of Atma are united, it is Brahman. All this was explained very beautifully in Shloka 18. Antabanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha anashinaha aprameyaha. That's what we have learned. Which means the bodies go. After a while, we drop the body. But the dweller in the body, the inside consciousness in the body is eternal. This dweller in the body, this does not die. It is imperishable. It is infinite. Nothing can affect the never-changing nature of the self or Atma. Ultimate reality is one. It is omnipresent, means it's present everywhere. There is no duality there, and there are no components in it. That is why that cannot be killed. Self with capital S is transcendental. And because it is transcendental, it remains ever untouched by anything in the relative field. Dr. Bhuvanesh Sharma ji and Mataji explained this last week, but because it is a very important point, I'm repeating it. This is all not just theory that we are studying. There is a great practical significance to this, because this helps us in understanding the true meaning of life and helps us cope with the difficult situations. Is Bani here? I would like Bani ji to share his experience. Bani ji had been attending our Gita sessions for more than 2 years, and he benefited so much that he never misses a session. Bani ji, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Please go ahead and can you share the experience you had that you told us in the other Gita session?
Yes. What I told was I shared a personal loss of mine. Mine means me and my wife together. We lost our two. We knew it, they will go before us because from the birth they were not all right. But when the day came,
Baniji, you got cut off. You said you lost two children.
yes,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Now I can, but it was cut off for a little while.
Okay,
So
I'll just repeat.
Baniji lost two young children. Go ahead.
Obviously, when that happened, I can't elaborate that. I mean, very difficult as a father or mother, losing your own children. It was very difficult. Before that, when my parents passed away, that was also very difficult. But when the children passed away, there is no comparison with anything else in the world. So that was the state. And then eventually I got into this Gita group during the pandemic time through the Zoom session like today. And when this chapter was discussed in detail, I suddenly realized that, though I thought my children are lost, they're not lost actually. Only the body is lost. But self, Atma, is avinashar. It is everlasting. So they are there. So that gave me a feeling that I am still connected with them. I cannot physically see them, but I can get connected as and when I want. Similarly, even about my parents also, I felt the same thing, and that gave me a huge kind of what do I say? Difficult to say. It's kind of relief. I was relieved that nothing has been lost. It is there. It is avinashar. So that left me with a kind of pleasant surprise when I went through this. So this is what I wanted to share with all of you.
Thank you, Baniji. As you all can see, there is such great value to understanding Gita and gaining Gita knowledge. In such difficult situations, Baniji and his wife lost children. That is the biggest stress in our life, to lose our children. And once he understood that Atma is Avinashi, it cannot be destroyed. And he said, he used the word, he was still feeling like, after studying Gita, he felt like he was still connecting with them. What a beautiful feeling it is to stay connected with somebody that you thought that you lost them forever. So that is the great practical value I was trying to explain when I was recapping what we studied in the last few sessions. I mean, last session in the last few verses. Okay, so now we will continue. Madhavi?
Yes. Jai Gurudev. We will continue the study of chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita with verses 23 to 28. We will now have the Sanskrit reading of verse 23. Nainam chindanti shastrani Nainam dahati pavakaha Na chainam kledayantyapaha Na soshayati marutaha Nainam chindanti shastrani Nainam dahati pavakaha na chainam kledayantyapaha na soshayati marutaha. Weapons cannot cleave him, nor fire burn him. Water cannot wet him, nor wind dry him away. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev, the intention here is to bring home to Arjuna the immortality, the never-changing nature of the self, and to make him see clearly that nothing can possibly affect it in any way. One thing was deep-rooted in Arjuna's mind, the feeling that his sharp arrows would pierce and mutilate the bodies of those he held dear and slay them. That is why Sri Krishna Bhagavan begins by making him understand that their existence would not, in the real sense, be destroyed by his weapons. Reality is one, omnipresent, devoid of any duality, without components. That is why it cannot be slain. The body is composed of different parts. That is why it can be slain. To make the idea still clearer, Krishna Bhagavan explains that even the elements of air, water, and fire, which are much more refined and powerful than Arjuna's weapons, are unable to disturb the self. Shri Krishna Bhagavan mentions weapons, fire, air, water as symbolic of the entire creation. His aim is to show Arjuna that the self, being transcendental, remains ever untouched by anything in this relative field. This idea is developed in the verses that follow so as to leave Arjuna in no doubt regarding the permanent nature of the self. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Can we have the Sanskrit reading of verse 24?
Madhviji, maybe you have to do it because I don't know Sanskrit.
Actually, Rajan is very much present in the meet.
Jai
Okay.
Gurudev. Jai Gurudev.
Yes, Rajan is there. Okay.
Yeah, Jai Gurudev. 24. अच्छेद्योऽयमदाह्योऽयम् अक्लेद्योषोच्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतस्थाणुः अचलोऽयं सनातनः अच्छेद्योऽयमदाह्योऽयम् अक्लेद्योषोच्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतस्थाणुः अचलोऽयं सनातनः. He is uncleavable, he cannot be burned, he cannot be wetted, nor yet can he be dried. He is eternal, all-pervading, stable, immovable, ever the same. Jai Guru.
Jai Gurudev, the teacher may start, as in this verse, by explaining reality in terms of the negation of common experience. When the mind of the pupil begins to rise to something abstract beyond the sphere of his present experience, he is then told of what may be called the positive attributes of reality. It is true that absolute reality is without any attribute, but even so, expressions have to be used to convey some sense of it. Here, Sri Krishna Bhagavan uses both means of enlightenment, negation and affirmation, beautifully in one stroke. The teacher has to be alert enough not to miss a single reaction of the pupil's mind to every word he speaks. Only by striking at the right moment are the desired results achieved. The sequence of words is important, being eternal. Reality is all pervading. Being all pervading, it is stable. Being stable, it is immovable. And being immovable, it is ever the same. Chikodev.
Jai Gurudev. Avyaktoyamachintyoyam vikaryoyamuchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushocitumarhasi. Avyaktoyamachintyoyam avikaryoyamuchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushocitumarhasi. He is declared to be unmanifest, unthinkable, unchangeable. Therefore, knowing him as such, you should not grieve.
It was essential for Krishna Bhagavan to impart to Arjuna a vivid intellectual conception of the soul, the real self, transcendental and without attributes. And he had to do this when Arjuna's mind was full of sorrow. It was therefore all the more necessary to present the conception of the unknowable through the attributes of the already known world. Arjuna had to be given this clear intellectual conception of reality in order to prepare him for the state of enlightenment. He could not be given the direct vision, but had to be shown the intellectual conception first and then be led by the experience step by step. Otherwise, Arjuna could not have understood that behind obvious phenomenal existence, there lies eternal being, and he himself is that, and everything is that. Jai Gurudev.
26, Jai Gurudev, ma'am.
No, sir. Jai Gurudev, sir.
No.
Sir, just a second.
Okay.
Now, Mataji will give the comments.
Yes, Mataji is not seen in the meet.
Yeah, it looks like Mataji had been held up for some reason, and I called her and she didn't answer. So she's probably, not coming. I thought she was coming. She didn't inform me. So probably something came up in the last minute. So did we cover all 3 shlokas, Madhavi?
Yes, Hemaji, all the 3 shlokas better.
Okay. So as I said in the recap, the same theme is continuing. And the theme is Sri Krishna Bhagavan is explaining to Arjuna the 2 aspects of life. That there is one is absolute and the other is relative. And in different shlokas from 11 to 38, this point is explained in detail in different terms. And in the recap, I said that, the never changing absolute aspect of life is indestructible. And this Sri Krishna Bhagavan is explaining to Arjuna, because Arjuna is worried that when he shoots arrows, they are going to hurt the other person, and he sees his relatives and very close relatives in the opposite army. Bhishma was so dear to him. So Sri Krishna Bhagavan is saying that because underlying reality, that is our inner reality, is indestructible, so with his arrows, Arjuna cannot kill anybody. Killing means it is gone, it's destroyed. But Atma is indestructible. So that's what Sri Krishna Bhagavan is explaining. And it is one. There is no duality in it, that inner reality, and there are no components to it, and that's why it cannot be destroyed. And in the next verse and the next verse, in 24, Maharishi said the sequence of the words is important. Why it is indestructible, and why these qualities of absolute, why they are explained in this sequence, is because it is all pervading. It is everywhere. Like, to give an example, Akasha is all pervading. Can you hurt Akasha? No, because it is so subtle and it is all pervading. And because it is all pervading, it is very stable. So when something is so stable, you cannot harm it, you cannot hurt it. And because it is so stable, it is immovable. And because it is immovable, it is there all the time. It is same all the time. It is eternal. And then in verse 25, Sri Krishna Bhagavan again, brought this point, very important point in Vedanta, that in the last para of 25, it says, eternal being, he himself is that with capital T, Tat. In Sanskrit, it is called as Tat. So Arjuna is not this body. He is that. That means Tat. Tattvamasi. Some of you are probably familiar with Mahavakyas. And Tattvamasi is one of the Mahavakyas. So you are that indestructible, eternal, imperishable, absolute. That is your essential nature. And another point is that with capital T, Tat, that is everything. Everything in this universe is that. That means in Sanskrita it is said, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. So these 2 points are brought out here in verse 25. And therefore, Sri Krishna Bhagavan is giving reassurance on one side and giving the intellectual understanding of the reality of life. Because once you understand a situation, then you are able to cope with it in a much better way. When you don't know anything, then you are scared, you are anxious, and unhappy and depressed and all that. But when you understand, this knowledge helps one to deal with any difficult situation in life, because you know that the underlying reality of life cannot be destroyed by anything or by anybody. So Sharmaji is here. Would you like to add anything, Sharmaji?
Jai Gurudev, I think you have already said about it, and then anyway the same theme continues. So we will continue with that. And in case any comment comes, I will just bring it there.
Okay. And oh, I forgot. Anitaji, please cover scientific research of each of the 3 shlokas, and then we will take questions. This is an important topic, so some of you may be having some questions, and it's good to clear all your doubts about this very important topic.
So the verse 23, increased coherence of brain functioning through Maharishi transcendental meditation. Individuals who have been practicing transcendental meditation program for 1 year showed significantly increased global EEG coherence during the practice of transcendental meditation in comparison to an eyes closed control period before the practice. Weapons cannot cleave him, nor fire burn him, water cannot wet him, nor wind dry him away. This relates to increased neurological efficiency, increased EEG coherence at the moment of performance of the TM Siddhi technique of the yogic flying. Now coming to verse 24, again, after studying this verse, we come to conclusion that there is a stabilized restful alertness through Maharishi TM Siddhi Yogic Flying Program. During the Transcendental Meditation Siddhi Yogic Flying Technique, EEG alpha power associated with the restful alertness was significantly higher than during control conditions in which the same individuals imitated the movement of the yogic flying. Stabilized restful alertness, even during the activity of mind and body, is a very great and important characteristic of the development of consciousness through Maharishi Transcendental Meditation and TM Siddhi program. All-pervading, stable, immovable, ever the same, relates to increased brain wave coherence, Jai Gurudev. And now I come to verse 25. Here it is, increased integration of brain functioning through transcendental meditation. And this picture shows the EEG coherence we see here in the middle, then the concept of learning, moral reasoning, IQ decreased neuroticism, and academic performance, transcendental consciousness, neurological efficiency, and creativity. High levels of EEG coherence measured during the transcendental meditation technique are significantly correlated with less neuroticism, higher creativity, greater efficiency in learning new concepts, more principled moral reasoning, higher verbal intelligence, higher academic achievement, clearer experiences of transcendental consciousness, and greater neurological efficiency. Knowing him as such, you should not grieve, relates to increased orderliness of brain functioning, increased integration, unity, and wholeness of personality. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Anita-ji. I noticed Mataji joined just now. Mataji, would you like to speak now? I made brief comments because we didn't see you. Unmute, please.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Jai Gurudev. Yeah, I had a technical problem and I could not come on. And I was just, it just got resolved. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can
So
hear you.
I covered, some points, but
Okay.
if you want to, continue, please go ahead, and then we will move on to the next 3 shlokas, and Dr. Bhuvnesh Sharma ji will do it. So maybe you can cover in 5-10 minutes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Jai Gurudev. I'm trying to see because I haven't heard, what Hema has given. So the whole essence of what Bhagavan Krishna is saying is like this. Bhagavan Krishna is showing himself as the complete, as that wholeness. And then here we as the seeker, like the Arjuna, we are trying to attain that perfection. And here Maharishi Ji is someone who is trying to tell us how to attain that perfection and how to reach that perfection. So this is the whole crux of the Gita. If we understand this, that, from this unlimited mortal state, we are going to infinite, all-pervading, immortal state, then we understand the verse after verse, it is all just set together that way. So as it says here, as a man casting off worn out garments, take other new ones, so the dweller in the body, casting off worn out bodies, takes others that are new. Weapons cannot cleave him, nor fire burn him, water cannot wet him, nor wind dry him away. He is uncleavable, he cannot be burned, he cannot be wetted, nor yet can he be dried. He is eternal, all-pervading, stable, immovable, ever the same. He is declared to be unmanifest, unthinkable, unchangeable. Therefore, knowing him as such, you should not grieve. So here the essence is really the bodies have known to have an end. Every body is known to have an end. But the dweller in the body is eternal, imperishable, and infinite. So Bhagavan again and again brings this unchanging nature of the dweller in the body, whom we call as Jiva. And Bhagavan further says that even the elements of the air, water, fire, earth, and space, which are more refined and powerful than Arjuna's weapons, are unable to disturb the self. So here, all the elements are only symbolic of the entire creation. So we have seen that one thing that has been deeply rooted in Arjuna's mind is the feeling that his sharp arrows would pierce and mutilate the bodies of those he held dear and slays them. So here Bhagavan is trying to make him understand that the self cannot be destroyed. Doesn't matter what weapons, what means you use, because the self is omnipresent and it is devoid of any duality without components. So something which is non-dual, which is oneness, which is in unity, it cannot be slain. So in this contrast, everyone needs to understand very clearly that the body is composed of different parts. And that is why it can be slain. And the individual is in duality. And that is why he thinks, he can be slain. Now, Arjuna also thinks that he is the slayer. He is the slayer. And because he's assuming all activity to himself, to personally himself, to the subjectively. And he doesn't understand that the eternal, unmanifested, absolute nature of the spirit or the self is ever the same. And it is beyond the limits of time, space, and causation. In reality, it is without beginning, this Atma, without an end. And it knows no birth, and it knows no death. It is not affected by any happenings in the relative field. And so Bhagavan says, one who knows him to be indestructible, everlasting, unborn, undying, how can that man, O Partha, slay or cause anyone to slay? Here Bhagavan is trying to make Arjuna rise. He wants him to rise to the state where he will be established in his real eternal self. And once he is established in the self, then he himself will realize the existence. What is the true existence and what is the true Atma? And he can rise then above the influence of this, action of fighting. And here we also find in these verses that Bhagavan is presenting everything with a marvelous skill. He's not only giving the intellectual conception of the reality, but he's also questioning Arjuna to attract his attention and to awaken his wits so that the description will be more clearly understood. And then Bhagavan, when he says, as a man casting off worn out garments takes other new ones, so the dweller in the body, casting off worn out bodies, take others that are new. And again, he brings back this unchanging nature of the dweller in the body, we call as Jiva. So we have seen that one thing that has been deeply rooted in Arjuna's mind is the feeling that his sharp arrows would pierce and mutilate the bodies of those he held dear and slay them. And so the whole attempt of Bhagavan is making him understand that, that all these bodies in the real sense are the Atma, or the self, and they cannot be destroyed by his weapons. And besides, Bhagavan is trying to say that, this self is one omnipresent, devoid of any duality, without components. Here, Bhagavan is taking Arjuna step by step. And why is he taking him step by step and repeating the sequence of the words, being all pervading? He's saying, being eternal, reality is all pervading. Being all pervading, it is stable. Being stable, it is immovable. And being immovable, it is ever the same. And this sequence of the words, continuously, he is trying to make Arjuna understand this absolute reality and try to say that Atma has no attributes. It has absolutely no attributes. So any expressions that are conveyed are only to the relative, and really Atma is free of attributes. And here Bhagavan is finally, he wants to give this clear intellectual conception of reality in order to prepare him for the state of enlightenment. So finally, in the 11th verse onwards, and also what Maharishi ji has been saying is, every creature is on the path of perfection. Through births and deaths of bodies, everyone is progressing towards that perfection and towards fulfillment. And that is why no one should grieve over the death of another. And Arjuna, having acquired understanding of the permanent nature of the dweller in the body and the impermanence of the body, should now respond to the call of duty, for that alone will help his own evolution and that of others. Now, I will just add a few words. I'll try not to take too long because I like to leave, something for you to take home. we all have to understand that death is not an end and it is a passage in the transition. It is not an end, it is a passage in the transition. The truth is that the jiva is not satisfied with mere material pleasures. However much you please senses, you cannot achieve satisfaction. You cannot achieve fulfillment. The more you enjoy through your senses, the more you need and the more you want for enjoyment. So this never stops. So this continuous craving, continuing discontentment with the sensory pleasures and the material pleasures are really built in and hardwired into the human psyche. And that is why it is so difficult for someone, to have fulfillment, to understand the Atma, even intellectually. So the only way you can rise above this is by having this intellectual knowledge and gaining the experiential knowledge of raising the consciousness and becoming once again whole or complete or Purna. So all of the experiential knowledge in this field of consciousness, that there is this cognition of the multiple variety of creation, the multiplicity, and all of that underlying, there is this unity only. So one has to understand that the glorified state of enlightenment is unity. And this unity has to be cognized and it has to be realized. This is called the self-realization, where you see everything as the unity and not as a duality or fragmented. Now, the self, which is the bliss, the ocean of bliss or Ananda, has to extend its value. And where is it extending its value? It's extending its value to the non-self. And what is this non-self? This non-self is the mind, the senses, the intellect, and the body. So the self, the Atma, has to extend its value, its bliss, its consciousness into the non-self. So now we know that, Atma is omnipresent. And something which is present everywhere, how can it extend its value into the ever-changing value of the relative? And here, Maharishi Ji says, it does, and it happens. And so is the extension of the self into the non-self. And this is how the glorified state of enlightenment and unity is cognized and realized. So by this extension of the self into the non-self, there is rising of the ever-changing value into the never-changing absolute. And what is happening here is bringing the relativity to its state of infinite dignity. This doesn't mean that the world becomes unified, and it is not that everything melts away. So it's not a subjective experience, but it is something that is glorifying both the subject and the object. So I'll just end it here. Maharishi has given this path of bliss consciousness, which he calls it the pathless path, where all expansion and all evolution is happening in this ocean of bliss. And this is why regular transcendence and experience of the being, in addition to experiential knowledge, is very important on this path of enlightenment. And you cannot have complete fulfillment or the wholeness without this extension of the self into the non-self, and the non-self attaining the status of the self. So in the meanwhile, I wrote some more points, but I won't go because I'm already, I've been late. Something happened technically, with our Wi-Fi, and I could not really connect. But the whole idea is when, one has attained this Purnatva, like Bhagavan Krishna, his behavior, his speech, his actions are all on a completely different level. And, and the one who has the individual mind and who is, under the influences of the senses and the indriyas and all that is on a completely different level. So our goal as a seeker is to only make sure that, that we are paying attention to what we are doing in terms of our speech, our thoughts, our behavior, and our actions, so that we move gradually into gaining that fulfillment. And then once, this fulfillment, once this self-realization happens and the being is established, then automatically everything comes with the, in terms of aligned to the natural law. The thoughts are naturally aligned to the natural law. And, the speech is naturally aligned to that. You speak only, what is necessary and what is needed. And the actions are also like that. So I will end here. And I will leave you with this, that Bhagavan Krishna and Maharishi Ji has given us the greatest hope of being from this point to reaching to that perfection. And Jai Gurudev. And Hema, she's now in India. So she brought the light. So please continue. Please continue. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji, for your beautiful comments. Yes, I'm really happy to be here. Now we will continue. Any questions, please? No, okay. So we'll continue. Madhavi, go ahead.
Yes. Jai Gurudev, Rajan sir, can we go ahead with the Samskrita reading of verse 26?
Yes, ma'am. Jai Gurudev. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam vamanyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitumarhasi. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam vamanyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitumarhasi. Even if you think of him as constantly taking birth and constantly dying, even then, O mighty armed, you should not grieve like this. Jai Gurudev.
Anitaji?
You want me to read? I thought I was to read only 23, 24, 25. I'm
No,
ready. No problem.
You're reading
Yeah.
all of them. Sunita is
no
not
problem.
here today. Yeah.
Okay. So, up to this stage in the dialogue, Sri Krishna Bhagwan has explained life from the viewpoint of indestructibility of the self. In this verse, he begins on a different argument. Even if Arjuna remains unconvinced of the immortality of the dweller in the body, this does not justify his grieving. Even if the dweller in the body is seen as repeatedly dying with the death of the body and repeatedly being born with the birth of the body, Arjuna still has no need to grieve. So perfect is Sri Krishna Bhagwan's logic that one argument is given and a statement established, and then Even when quite contrary reasoning is applied, the same conclusion is reached. This is the glory that belongs to the teaching of the Absolute. It is found to be the same, whatever one angles of vision. Only the Absolute can be known in this manner. While this is the glory of the Absolute, it is also the glory of the Master's mind that can deduce the same conclusion from the two diametrically opposed lines of reasoning. If Arjuna is not convinced by one line of reasoning, Shri Krishna Bhagavan does not leave him to his fate, but tries to convince him through another. This is the situation between Arjuna and Shri Krishna Bhagavan that was created by his surrender at his feet. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. So we will continue on this verse 26. Actually, the same theme is being continued, but now Bhagwan Krishna takes another angle. What happens is, Maharishi always say, like if you go to, a child goes to a school and he sees one direction of the path, and then he comes back and sees the another direction. So because one has to intellectually consider from different angles somehow to tell the truth, and that is about the self. And here Bhagwan Krishna is mentioning he is for that perfect, the absolute or the self. And so now he has taken the angle that explains the opposite angle, and it is the glory of the teaching that absolute, that is the conclusion, is always the same, irrespective of the angle, whatever angle we take. But basically, we have to establish that absolute is, after all, absolute. I remember Maharishi was mentioning that the complete knowledge has to have come from both the paths. So that is what we'll say about taking the another angle. And Bhagwan Krishna takes, even if the body is dying and then taking birth again, then Arjuna should not grieve still. The glory of Guru is such that when the disciple surrenders, Guru ensures enlightening the disciple by deducing the same conclusion from even the contrary angle. So here I would like to mention, more important is the surrender to the master. And what I am seeing here is that we want to have a dialogue. Every time we are saying, are there some questions? What is happening? The whole explanation is in English and everyone is enlightened. So we understand who else can explain better than Maharishi. So in case something is not clear from that, then we can discuss on this. But otherwise, basically, what Maharishi has said is very clear. And when we come to the scientific research, we'll say that the scientific research also, because Bhagwan Krishna wants that Arjun should realize that self is not dying, and if self is dying, it is taking birth again, so he should not grieve. So scientific research also shows that the practice of transcendental meditation is decreasing depression. Because why depression comes? Depression comes because of stress. And through the practice of transcendental meditation, the stress is gone. And this is what the scientific research shows. So basically, the real advantage of the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita is practicing transcendental meditation. And it says that patients suffering from post-traumatic stress problems who learned the transcendental meditation program showed significant reduction in depression after 4 months, in contrast to others who were randomly assigned to receive psychotherapy. So by no other means one can have that peace, which is experienced through the practice of transcendental meditation. It also explains that increased emotional harmony and absence of regressive behavior, increased emotional strength, decreased unwelcome thoughts or compulsive habits, decreased vulnerability, decreased frustration, decreased psychoticism, decreased need for tranquilizers, decreased sense of physical inadequacy, decreased instability and hypochondrial and asthenic symptoms. So all those symptoms are because of the stress, and all those symptoms are decreased if someone is experiencing that peace within. So basically, Bhagavan Krishna is telling about the intellectually what are the qualities of the being or the absolute. But then actually he will come to the real knowledge, how to experience it. Maharishi always mentioned two things: intellectual understanding and experience. So first we are having the intellectual understanding through this conversation, and then we will be coming to the real technique of experiencing it. I think we can go in case we have some questions, because without, if you take any Vedic text, without the questions, we don't know whether everyone is understood. If everyone knows, then there is no problem. And if not, then it should be asked. In all Vedic texts, there is dialogue. Without dialogue, we don't know where we are saying. I don't know how many people are really listening and really connected. So that is very important, I think. Otherwise, it's more.
It is basically like just the theoretical affirmations may not be sufficient to understand what is immortality. We need to experience that. And that is only possible through our regular practice of TM.
Yes, yes. That's right. So experience is most important, but then also we will say it is certainly the glory of the being is so much that one can explain it a lot. But the knowledge has to come, like Bhagavan Krishna was knowing that Arjun, he is a great intellectual, great warrior, great person, and now he has reached the climax. It is just on the threshold, borderline to enlightenment. So Maharishi always mentioned we have to see the audience, and the teacher should always go to the level of the taught, and then only the knowledge can be really conversed. Otherwise, it is like futile exercise, I will say, because it is all in English, and we already have said about it. I will say the better exercise will be that we read it in English, and in case there are some questions, then we know where we have to really address. Yes. Okay, then we can go ahead, whatever it is. Yes. We can go
So,
to the...
I remember Dr. Bhune Sharmaji said once in the past that if anybody wants to ask questions in Hindi, you can go ahead and ask. And Sharmaji can explain in Hindi. And so I don't want anybody to feel inhibited that, we want to ask in Hindi. Please feel free to ask in Hindi also if you want. Okay, so we may move on now.
Jai Gurudev. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janmamritasya cha tasmadapariharyethe natvam shochitumarhasi. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janmamritasya cha tasmadapariharyethe natvam shochitumarhasi. Certain indeed is death for the born, and certain is birth for the dead. Therefore, over the inevitable you should not grieve. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev, the change is inevitable in the field of relative existence. It is going on even in the present, as it was in the past, and will be in the future. Therefore, birth and death are natural events about which one should not feel much concern. The phenomenon of birth and death is the expression of the eternal process of evolution, which in its turn expresses the purpose of creation. Life evolves with a view to the realization of perfection. Development through change is the natural course of this cosmic process. Every change is significant, for it provides a step to perfection. The manner in which change takes place is also in line with the cosmic purpose of evolution, for it is too governed by the eternal laws of cause and effect. This is how, through birth and death, the plan of life finds its fulfillment. Man has freedom of action. Thereby, he can adopt any channel, good or bad, through which he wants the course of his life to flow. This is in his hands, but the change is inevitable, and it is for the sake of life that this is so. Therefore, over the inevitable, you should not grieve. On the contrary, change should be welcome, for it opens new vistas of life towards fulfillment. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. So here we are saying that Bhagavan Krishna is mentioning that change is inevitable, because in the relative, you remember there are three gunas, and the whole creation is the interplay of the three gunas. So this relative creation is always changing, but the change is in alignment with the cosmic laws, and it is based on those cosmic laws that the change is there. And then Bhagavan Krishna is mentioning, Maharishi is mentioning that man has the ability to do right thing or the wrong thing. Actually, other than human being, they say that this human nervous system is not even available to devatas. Devatas urge for having the nervous system, because human nervous system is very unique. Everything else except the human nervous system, they have to go by just those instinct, whatever the nature provides. But man, it can take either path. Though basically the whole cosmos is being governed by the absolute being, but still it has freedom to some extent, I will say. Because I am saying to some extent, because basically nature ultimately takes over. It is the nature which is guiding us, even though we think that we are doing this, but the doer is only the absolute self. Here, even if we are taking the wrong path, nature will do something to bring us on the right path. So there is a very, very good example. They say that the change is always there. The old order changes, giving place to the new. This is a very long proverb and known proverb, that the old order is changing, giving place to the new. So the change is always there. But where this change is taking place? From one lecture of Maharishi, I remember, Maharishi said that in the ocean, we are seeing so many waves. But where those waves are going? Basically, they are in the ocean itself. Every wave is rising, after all, to come again to evolve to be the ocean. So similarly, the self is evolving, changing, body is changing, everything is changing, but the change is to evolve and to have, we can say, to reach the unity consciousness. So that is what I feel is this. One can say much more depending on the questions. And if we come to the scientific research, it is emphasized that the inevitable, you should, because the change is inevitable, so you should not grieve. And how that will come? How that will come? That you realize that yourself is unchanging, even though the life is changing. But still, our own self is, will have more, we can say, actualize ourselves. So that is what this research says. Increased self-actualization through the practice of transcendental meditation, and for both short-term meditators and long-term meditators. Increased self-actualization, आजकल कहते हैं ना आत्मनिर्भर, you should know yourself. So, and you should be independent on yourself. So that will come through the practice of transcendental meditation. Increased self-actualization, as defined by this test, includes the growth of self-sufficiency, the acceptance of self, nature and others, the loss of fear of death, the development of openness, receptivity, and a caring attitude, the cheerfulness, positive thinking, spontaneously, and freshness of appreciation. This study found that the practice of transcendental meditation allows these qualities to naturally and cumulatively unfold. Very important that all these qualities, they come naturally. One is not really trying to have all those specific qualities, but they come to the practitioner by itself. And it also shows increased inner directedness, great independence, and self-supportiveness. Independence also means one is not depending on others. One is contented and happy and blissful within his own self. Increased self-actualization, increased integration, unity. Actually, yoga is integration. We say we are having integration of life. So that also is experienced through the transcendental meditation and the wholeness of personality. Not that one part of the body or one like one sense or one quality is developing. The whole nervous system is developing towards perfection. So that is what the scientific research says. In case there are some questions, then we can discuss.
Yes, Jai Gurudev Ganeshji. I liked the connectivity of the scientific research with the verse 27. The scientific research says, increase inner directedness. And here in the verse it says, the man has the freedom of action, and whichever channel he has to take to flow, make the life flow, that is in his hand. So now these two things, they make us understand, though the change is inevitable, yet the change for good and the outcome of the change after the transcendental meditation gives us that inner independence and self-supportiveness, increased integration and self-actualization. So then we are in a position to take whichever action we have to take for our life to flow. Jai Gurudev.
Okay, it's good. So what is the question basically?
Basic question I'm trying to again emphasize is that here Maharishi again and again says that when we do practice regularly and we come to that level, then we understand which path to take in our life to flow in a good manner. So bad actions are also with you, good actions are also with you. But through that knowledge, through that experience of TM, that we take the path which takes us into the right direction.
Actually, it is the nature which directs us. One can either say that we are doing whatever we like because we have connection to the transcendence. But we can also say the other way, that now we are aligned with the nature, and whatever nature wants, we are doing that. You see the point? One can say that whatever I like to do, I do. Okay, but basically, if we have to do something right, we have to align with the nature, and then actually it is the nature which is doing. It is the individual self is becoming universal self. Yes.
Since in this verse there was a mention of cause and effect, with this gross body we perform so many actions, so we need to even bear the fruit of that action. So here, is it apt to tell that the buddhi, the intellect, is karma anusarini? The whatever karma we are supposed to have with this body, our intellect also drives us in that particular direction.
Yes, as you sow, so shall you reap. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Very good. So next verse, I think, or in case any question, actually everyone has great ideas. So good to discuss this. Yes.
Jai Gurudev, Rajan sir, can we go ahead with the 28th verse?
Jai Gurudev. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktanidhananyeva तत्र का परिदेवना अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना. Creatures are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the middle state, and unmanifest again at the end. O Bharata, what grief is there in this? Jai Gurudev.
Here again, and from yet another angle, the same conclusion is reached. The phenomenal presents the manifested state of life, while being is of unmanifested transcendental nature. According to the findings of modern physics, all matter has only phenomenal existence and is in reality formless energy, both in its previous state and its present obvious form. Matter is nothing but pure energy, and on dissolution of the present form, it will remain the same energy. Similarly, the present phenomenal phase of existence is seen to have no permanent significance, and it is this that Shri Krishna Bhagwan is impressing upon Arjuna. Jai Gurudev.
Yes, so again, taking another angle, the same conclusion is achieved. The phenomenal presents the manifest state of life, while being is unmanifest, transcendental in nature. Creatures are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the present, and unmanifest again. As I was mentioning about the wave starts from the ocean, it shows up, and then again it comes back to the ocean itself. So similarly, from unmanifest, the whole manifestation comes, and then it goes to that unmanifested state again. And Maharishi is actually referring to that time the level of physics was of E is equal to mc square. Means the energy is actually nothing but the, we can say, mass and energy relation is there. So, but then now we can, because Maharishi has already given the explanation in the field, in the unified field also, it has been shown that unified field is the basic level, the silent level of awareness, and that can be only achieved through the human being. Only man's mind can transcend and experience that being. But basically, that unified field is the reservoir of all the laws of nature and infinite energy. So this is, we are talking of the modern time of physics. At that time, this research was not there. So Maharishi has spoken about that. But basically, the idea is that this reservoir of energy is always there. It is never, we can say, hurt. And so why to grieve? The basically idea is that why to grieve? Because whatever is coming up, it is dissolving again in the same level of higher energy. And that also is indicated again from the scientific research, that again Arjun is asked not to grieve, because with transcendental meditation, the decreased depression is there. Whether the control group is not having, is still having the depression, but with transcendental meditation, the depression is decreased. University students in Cambodia who began the transcendental meditation program showed decreased depression after 3 months, in contrast to the groups of students from 2 other universities who did not learn the transcendental meditation program. Decreased number of situations in life felt to be a problem. More balanced mood, decreased anxiety. When we say more balanced mood, actually it says samatvam yoga uchyate. What is yoga? Yoga is balance. So balance of mood, it shows that one is experiencing that state of, we can say, eternal silence and increased autonomic stability. So the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system also is more stable and coming back to the normal state very quickly. So that is the scientific research. And in case we have any questions, then we can discuss or some explanations. No
Any
questions?
questions? Yeah, any questions or any appealing points? Somebody
जय
likes.
गुरुदेव।
Jai Gurudev.
क्या ऐसा हो सकता है सर कि ज्ञान से बिना एक्सपीरियंस के भी एनलाइटनमेंट हो?
ज्ञान से ये सांख्य जो है, ये सांख्य ज्ञान के ये बता रहे हैं, उसकी क्वालिटीज और एट्रीब्यूट सुन के अनुभव में सहायता होती है। अनुभव तो होता है, लेकिन अनुभव में सहायता होती है इस ज्ञान के द्वारा। होगा तो बिना अनुभव के तो नहीं होता। महर्षि कहते हैं कोई भी सिद्ध अगर है, इसका मतलब वो ट्रांसेंड तो हुआ था। लेकिन
तो अनुभव ज्यादा जरूरी है ज्ञान से उसे वेरीफाई करना।
एग्जैक्टली बौद्धिक यो बुद्धि पर तत्व से, वो दैट एलिमेंट इज बियॉन्ड इंटेलेक्ट, वो मतलब बुद्धि से परे है। लेकिन उसके लिए ये विशेष बात क्या है, देखिए कि महर्षि जी ने हृदय या भावना और मन, अपनी बुद्धि दोनों को लिया है। देखा ये गया, हमारी जो त्रोटक की परंपरा है, शायद आपने सुना होगा, हमारी त्रोटकाचार्य की परंपरा है। और त्रोटकाचार्य की परंपरा में गुरुदेव के प्रति इतनी श्रद्धा हुई त्रोटकाचार्य को कि वो एनलाइटन हो गए। तो मतलब क्या है,
वही मेरा दूसरा क्वेश्चन था सर, कि
तो
क्या सिर्फ त्रोटकाचार्य ही सही एनलाइटेंड है या वो बाकी तीनों भी जो ज्ञानी बहुत थे?
आपने देखा होगा कि वो जो सूर्य का जो प्रकाश है वो अलग अलग, अगर एक शीशा है टूटा हुआ, अलग अलग शेप में है, तो सूर्य का प्रकाश अलग अलग आएगा। तो जो बुद्धि के द्वारा गया है, हर एक का रास्ता हो सकता है, जो बुद्धि के द्वारा गया हुआ है वो एक क्लिष्ट रास्ते से गया लेकिन फिर भी पहुंचेगा, और जो भावनात्मक रास्ते से गया उसका परफेक्ट एनलाइटनमेंट हो गया। और इसीलिए हमारे यहाँ महर्षि बार बार उस पर एम्फेसाइज करते थे कि अपना, क्योंकि वो मार्ग सरल है, भक्ति का जो मार्ग है वो सरल है, लेकिन फिर भी ध्यान तो करना ही है। क्योंकि ध्यान भी महर्षि ने कितना अच्छा, आजकल लोग तरह तरह के ध्यानों की बात करते हैं, लेकिन ये एक ध्यान है जिसमें भावना और बौद्धिक समझना दोनों अनुभव और अनुभव वो सब है उसमें। तो
जबकि ज्ञान के रास्ते में बहुत मेहनत है और ये स्वतः ही हो जाता है।
बल्कि कभी कभी ज्ञान के रास्ते में डिस्ट्रैक्शंस ज्यादा है, इट टेक्स मोर टाइम एंड डिस्ट्रैक्शन। तो इसीलिए गुरु परंपरा की जो पूजा करने का महत्व है ना, लोग कहते हैं आजकल जो लोग योग सिखाते हैं वैसे योग सिखाते हैं, हमारे यहाँ गुरु परंपरा को धन्यवाद देकर सिखाते हैं। तो वो भावना तो आ जाती है, एक सीखने के लिए कोई आता है ध्यान, तो उसमें वो भावना आ जाती है, और दैट एक्चुअली हेल्प्स वन टू ट्रांसेंड।
अच्छा, that uprise the heart। अच्छा, हृदय के उद्गार।
एग्जैक्टली ये इसको, और ये हम केवल बात कर सकते हैं जो लोग ध्यान के शिक्षक हैं या ध्यान करते हैं उनसे। तो हमें यही नहीं पता होता कि हमारी ऑडियंस में कौन लोग हैं। यहाँ पर ये स्थिति होती है, क्योंकि एक स्टेप वाइज ज्ञान दिया जाता है, और जब तक हमको ये नहीं मालूम कि वो सीखने वाला किस स्टेप पर है, तब तक हम उसको पूरा व्यक्त नहीं कर सकते। लेकिन ये अच्छा पॉइंट आपने रेज किया है कि इसमें भावना और बुद्धि दोनों का संतुष्टि होती है इस भावातीत ज्ञान के,
क्योंकि बुद्धि कभी कभी तो रोड़ा बन जाती है।
एग्जैक्टली टू मच ऑफ इंटेलेक्ट जो है वो कभी कभी डिस्ट्रैक्ट करता है। बिल्कुल ठीक, बहुत अच्छा आपने प्रश्न किया, बहुत अच्छा,
धन्यवाद सर।
Of the three paths for enlightenment, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, the easiest is being the Bhakti Yoga, and the toughest being Jnana Yoga.
हाँ, देखिए अब यहाँ पर एक और पॉइंट आपने रेज किया है, बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट है। हम इसको अगर अलग मानेंगे, महर्षि ने इसको इकट्ठा एक मार्ग माना है। पहले आप योग करो, फिर कर्म करो। जब योग करोगे और कर्म करोगे तो कर्म योग हो गया, ठीक है ना, और फिर उससे आपको भक्ति आ गई, गॉड कॉन्शियसनेस आ गई, और फिर उससे यूनिटी कॉन्शियसनेस आ गई। तो उन मार्गों को अलग अलग नहीं, ये तो समझाने के लिए हम लोगों ने कहा कि भाई भावना भी इन्वॉल्व है, लेकिन एक्चुअली इट इज ऑल टुगेदर, इट कम्स साइमल्टेनियसली व्हेन यू आर एनलाइटेंड। यस, महर्षि ने भक्ति के ऊपर जो गीता का प्रीफेस है ना और इंट्रोडक्शन है, उसमें बहुत क्लियर किया है महर्षि ने कि गड़बड़ यही हो गया कि हम लोगों ने सोचा ये वो भक्ति का मार्ग है, और वो क्या हुआ कि वो ज्ञान मार्ग अलग हो गया, भक्ति का मार्ग अलग हो गया, और उससे सब वो गड़बड़ हो गया। महर्षि कहते हैं जनरेशंस हैव पास्ड एक्चुअली प्रेइंग दैट समडे द गॉड विल कम। ये स्थिति। तो इसलिए भक्ति, ऐसे कहना, भक्ति जरूरी है, लेकिन वो सारी चीजें स्वयं होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट है। वो ये नहीं है कि हम एक मार्ग पर बढ़ रहे हैं दूसरे पे, वो होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट।
सर लेकिन भक्ति का तो, भक्ति अगर है तो कर्म तो अपने आप ही सिद्ध हो जाता।
हाँ बिल्कुल, भक्ति वो जब गॉड, हम भक्ति को
Grace of
कैसे लेंगे कि डेवलपिंग टुवर्ड्स गॉड कॉन्शियसनेस, ये है भक्ति का जो
तो
कॉन्सेप्ट
भक्ति
है।
ज्यादा जरूरी है, कर्म तो उसके बाद सज जाते हैं।
नहीं, वो मैं तो कहूंगा इसको सबको लेना चाहिए, यही इसी का महत्व इसीलिए है कि सबको लेना
वही तो,
चाहिए।
जब हम भक्ति में होते हैं तो हमें कर्म ज्यादा करने का मन करता है।
हाँ, वो अच्छा है, भक्ति में होके कर्म करने से एवरीथिंग एट्रीब्यूटेड टू दी गॉड और टू दी, देन इट इज ऑलवेज राइट।
हाँ
क्योंकि फिर सरेंडर हो गया ना, भक्ति इज ए काइंड ऑफ सरेंडर। सो
हाँ,
वंस
मैं से वो हो गया।
एग्जैक्टली।
Pooja, you brought out a very nice point. And as Sharma ji had explained, what is happening with bhakti is, Sharma ji said, bhavana is there. And with bhavana, it is helping you to transcend. And when you transcend, you are in tune with the laws of nature. What is laws of nature? Laws of nature is God. So because you have bhakti, you have bhavana, feeling, and with that helps you to transcend, and you are getting in touch with it.
Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Huh.
When we say bhavana, na means not there. Even the bhavana has been transcended.
Right.
Bhavana, that is transcendence.
Yes.
So this is the explanation of bhavana. Yes.
Beautiful.
Continue.
See, this is the first time I'm hearing the full meaning of bhavana.
Very beautiful.
So with bhakti, bhavana is increasing, which means that state is taking you to transcendent when there is no feeling. That means you're transcending. And that means you're surrendering. So all the points are coming here. And because you're surrendering, then, and going to a place where there is no bhava, you're transcending bhava, you're transcending feeling. And so you are in transcendence, and then you get all the support from the laws of nature. And that's why puja, karma, all actions are accomplished easily. Is that right?
Yatina brahma bhavati sarthi.
Brahma bhavati sarthi. Bilkul.
Very nice. Very beautiful points have come out. So
today,
today,
ये बहुत अच्छा है कि जब इस तरह से एक स्वाभाविक रूप से प्रश्न आता है और वो भी अपनी मातृभाषा में, तो उसका प्रभाव भी बहुत अधिक होता है। बहुत अच्छा।
So now this shows that we definitely need Hindi translation. It is there. It just needs to be published, and then we can have full Gita discussion.
But what I would like to do is that if we ask a question, at present, how many people are connected? I think maybe 16 or 15 or whatever.
14.
Okay. And how many of them understand Hindi?
So on Zoom, we have 15 now. We had about 18 or 20. But on Ramrajtv, there are more people watching.
If we can ask them, how many of them know Hindi? Because then what we can do is, when we speak in English, we read in English, and then we can also talk in Hindi, so that the message is reaching farther, and your show will be more popular that way. That is what
सर एक बात मेरे को यहाँ पे समझ में आई है, जो डिस्कशन तो जैसे फ्लोलेस मातृभाषा में हो जाता है, लेकिन जब मैं सिखाती हूँ टीएम और कोई हिंदी में होता है, तो मैं पूरा बता के फिर लास्ट में इंग्लिश में कंक्लूड करती हूँ। तो जो बैठा है उसको,
आपकी बात बिल्कुल ठीक है। बेसिकली व्हाट वी हैव टू एंश्योर इज दैट द पर्सन हैज अंडरस्टूड. As long as the person understands, then we'll say it.
सारे समझ जाए।
बस चाहे वो हिंदी हो या अंग्रेजी हो। तो हम यहाँ पर क्या कह रहे हैं कि सारा तो अंग्रेजी में तो है ही है। महर्षि जी का क्योंकि अभी हिंदी की टीका उपलब्ध नहीं है, और हम चाहते हैं कि ये ज्ञान अधिकतर लोगों में जाए, तो हम उसमें दोनों तरफ we should speak in both. Already English is there, we also talk in Hindi, or we have questions in Hindi and we can talk like that. That will take the message much farther. That is the idea.
बट सर आज बहुत अच्छा ज्ञान मिला है आपसे, धन्यवाद।
ये आपके क्वेश्चन की वजह से I should thank you because of such a nice question. Yes. If the questions come, it will be a joy for everyone. Yes.
Yes, yes. Good job, Pooja. It is 9 o'clock, and today we did not have a chance to recite second chapter, but we had knowledge. So it's a different aspect of knowledge. So that is okay. If there are any birthdays, we will sing Samskrita birthday song. Otherwise, we will conclude with the Shanti part. Any birthdays? No. Okay. So, Madhavi, are the Pandits here to do
Yes, Mukesh ji is here.
जी मैम जय गुरुदेव
the Jai Gurudev.
Shanti Path.
हरि ओम देव शांतिरंतरिक्षगुं शांति पृथ्वी शांतिरापः शांतिरोषधयः शांतिः वनस्पतयः शांतिर्विश्वे देवाः शांति ब्रह्म शांतिः सर्वगुं शांतिः शांतिरेव शांतिः सामा शान्तिरधीयतो यतः समीहसे ततो नो अभयं कुरु सन्नः पुरप्रजाभ्यो भयन्नः पाशुभ्यः हरिः ॐ शान्ति 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 जय गुरुदेव दीदी
Jai Gurudev. Thank you all for joining. We will meet again next week, same time. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev Didi ji.
Jai Gurudev. Is that Rosita? Nice. Nice to see you. Nice that you joined.
It was very nice hearing all this knowledge, and I'm very glad to be part of this.
Huh.
And I'm very thankful to you, Didi ji, that you take your time to do this for all of us. Also,
You're
for the people in Suriname.
Yes. Rosita is in Suriname, and
Yes, I'm from
yes.
Suriname.
Yes, and she's a regular, I'm telling other people, and she's a regular member in our groups. And thank you for joining, Rosita. Looks like you understand Hindi. Quite a few people there speak and understand Hindi, right?
Yes.
You understand Hindi? Yeah,
Yes,
that's
do
very nice. I'm
understand.
glad. Yes, and we had some discussion in Hindi, and I'm glad you joined and you enjoyed. Okay. Thank you, Bani, for giving your experience. I'm sure it helped many people to understand, the shlokas that we are studying. Thank you. And Bela
Jai
is
Gurudev.
Bela. Jai Gurudev, Bela.
Jai Gurudev Hemaji.
Jai Gurudev.
I'm very
Namita.
thankful to all.
Jai Gurudev, ma'am.
Jai Gurudev, Bela. Namita, nice to see you after a long time.
Yes, Hemaji. I'm so happy to know you're in India and enjoying.
Yes, Veda Bhumi. Everything is Vedic here. I'm really very happy. Yeah. And Anita, thank you for, you did a lot of reading today. Very nice. Okay. And Jai Gurudev to Happy Girl. Now we will sign off. Sachin, you can end the meeting now. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.